That music is hilarious. I love
Trash. Just absolute trash.
it.
I like it. It matches my shirt. 90s, baby.
Yeah.
Period.
Someone said it gives 90s last time.
Sorry.
Somebody said it gives 90s last time.
Oh,
So
yeah. It was K.
Yeah, it definitely gives 90s. It reminds me
You
of a
think?
cartoon that maybe I used to watch. Okay, I'm really excited to be back this week. How's everyone doing? Hopefully well.
good,
Doing
good.
well.
Good.
Excited.
We're gonna jump right in. So the title is Marriage for White People. There are lots of conversations about marriage in these online spaces. I know we've all heard different talking points, on either extreme end of the spectrum in terms of attitudes towards marriage, and also like everything in between. So let's just start out. What do we think that the value of marriage is? What do you think, Annalicia? What is the value of marriage? Do you think it's valuable?
Um, Sorry.
Do you think marriage is valuable in our society today?
I personally do think that it is. I don't want to be long-winded. Listen. The answer is yes, and I pass the mic.
Okay. Patty, what about you?
I'm just like, you're not gonna ask me how my week was. How was my
No,
day?
we're jumping right in. We don't have to do you know, we know how your week was. So
Um,
what do you
valuable who for like
just in
American,
society in general,
Australian, for me
in,
personally.
in our society in America
Yeah, I
or
think it
Canada?
still has some value. I'm not sure if it's as valuable as it used to be, but yeah.
Okay. What about you, Themis? Just in general.
Uh, Complicated. I think marriage, based on the sort of sociological research, is a good institution when the people involved care enough to make it into something more meaningful than their own sort of petty pride. But I think it's generally beneficial to the people who engage in it.
So do I. So do I. So I think we're kind of all on the same page about that. Patty actually brought up something that I was gonna, bring up next about how things have changed from the past, like till now. Um, so as people are getting more educated and just having more, I guess, options and just different things with the way that our society is going, um, marriage rates are declining, I believe, from what they were in the past. So, why do we think that that's happening? Why are people waiting longer to get married than they used to, or just not getting married at all? Petty, we'll start with you because you touched on that with your response.
I mean, like I said, I don't think it's as valuable as it was in the past, and I don't think there's as much of a emphasis on it. Think about something. Isn't there like a stereotype called like the old maid, where a woman is kind of unwed into an old age and stigmatized and stuff like that? I think that exists a lot less today, even though it's still here. And then, of course, there aren't, in my opinion, as many tangible benefits as there were in the past. So, why would people if you don't get as much out of it?
What do you think some of the tangible benefits from the past were, like that you don't see as much today?
I mean, for a woman, like I said, I'm pretty sure if you're in a society where you cannot legally work or educate yourself, and the only way for you to provide for yourself is to have pretty much your father and I guess mother, well, father do it for you, and then the man who you marry, of course, to be unwed in a society like that, I think means to be left behind. And then for a man of the past, of course, the way marriage seems to be defined historically, you would get your own slave. So I don't think you get that anymore. So yeah,
You
for
don't think?
You
I
don't
mean,
think?
not legally.
Okay, I like your hair. Again.
Oh, you're talking Patty.
No,
I thought you said Kate.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. What do you think, Annalicia, about that? Because, things are different now than they were in the past. Attitudes even about marriage. And like Petty said, that stigma isn't there as much, even though it's still there. What do you think are some of the things that have changed?
Well, first of all, I think that COVID has created a lot of sociological and economic anxiety and instability. And I think that's probably the primary reason that we're seeing birth rates and marriage rates decline. I think that people are just being more pragmatic and responsible, especially when we're heading into a recession. It's probably not the best idea to fiscally entangle yourself with someone for the rest of your life under those economic and social conditions. But I also believe that the priority has changed. I think that marriage is still valuable. I think that there are a lot of social, emotional, financial, economic. There are a lot of implications that are advantageous for people who do decide to get married. I just feel like the priority to get married, I think that's what's changed. I think that women are now in a position that they're not at the mercy of men and marriage, so they can wait to find someone that they connect with. They can wait to find someone who is not emotionally defective or an emotional terrorist, and then have to rely on his finances and his wealth for the rest of her life, or be stuck in a marriage in which she's unhappy. So I think that those are some of the reasons. So still valuable. I think it's happening a lot later. And I think a lot of that has to do with the strides that, and the hard work that women have put in, and the strides that women have made.
Themis, what do you think about that? Because, I agree with what Annalicia was saying for the most part. Things have changed a lot, and women aren't as dependent on being married as they used to be. So what do you think of that?
I generally agree with both Petty and Annalicia. I think that the sociopolitical climate in which we are operating regarding mating has dramatically shifted. Annalicia pointed out I think people will just wrap this all up to the feminist movement. But I think more generally, the economic system under which women operated, which Petty kind of hinted at, where men would just have a slave, is not the case anymore. Women can provide for themselves. Women can do more in terms of self-actualization without the need of a man. And so with that, I think women are more selective, right? Women can be more selective in their mating process. Showing up to the table with a job is not enough, right? And so you are now having to work on things that men generally didn't have to work on. And we see that play out in the literature around modern dating. We see it in the stats, and we see it in sort of men sort of rebelling against the modern women because they no longer have access to women in the way that they once did.
Okay, so when we talk about marriage and how it was in the past versus how it is now, a lot of the things that I just heard, being discussed were kind of about how women basically needed to be married in order to do certain things in society or be in certain positions in society. We know that has changed. So now when we think about the benefits of marriage, like men versus women, who do we think benefits more now in 2023 from marriage? Because there are lots of different views on this. I've heard people very adamant about men not benefiting at all. And then I've heard people saying women don't benefit at all. Do you all lean in either direction in terms of your opinion on that?
Can I go first?
Whoever. Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's complicated because I think the easy answer is that men benefit the most from marriage, right? But historically, women needed marriage in order to have any kind of access in any meaningful way, right? And I should put a caveat and say women with the exclusion of Black women in terms of American life, right? And so in the modern world, and if I could create a utopia, everyone involved in the marriage would benefit from the marriage, right? But we see that women tend to sacrifice more in a marriage. And so men benefit from having a woman there where it's a lot of the times a detriment to women in the contemporary sense of marriage.
Why,
So,
why do you think what parts do you think are a detriment, and like
so,
specifically?
so we cannot divorce marriage from the economic space in which it occupies. So if we're thinking about marriage today, the man is not going out and being the provider on his own, right? By and large, both men and women engage in the labor market. Now, obviously, there are stay-at-home wives and all of that, but as a general matter, both parties are contributing financially to the household. And the issue here is feminists term this the second shift, right? Where women have taken on the role of what was traditionally the man, but also continued their role at home. And so the man is getting help in his role in this kind of patriarchal society, where the woman generally takes on the childcare, the cleaning, and all of that. And I think it's kind of fascinating because of how we devalue the work that women used to play and used to engage in at home. And so it creates this weird thing where women advance, but the advancement is just to take on more work.
Yeah, because I was reading an article recently about the fact that like women, as women have been getting more educated, more into the job market over the last few decades or whatever, men have been doing more like domestic around the house type of duties, but men still typically do much less of those things. So, like Themis was just saying, women, are having more opportunities and more, areas that we're doing more things, but also still having the workload of, mainly, you know, doing the most childcare or the most household chores in general. Of course, there are different situations where that's not the case, but generally in a household, where there's a man and a woman, the woman does more of those things. So, Annalicia, what do you think of that? Like the progress that women have made in terms of, the job market and all of those things, but also still doing most of those domestic types of duties. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's unfair? Like, what do you think should happen?
I think that people should be adaptable in all circumstances, in all situations, especially in a family dynamic, because your family in your home, you have your own little ecosystem, and in order for it to run effectively, I believe that you have to adapt. If something needs to be done, you have to do it. I don't care what your anatomy is. I don't care what your gender is. If something needs to be done, you need to do it, and that's how we push forward. That's how we sustain a cohesive unit. And we also teach our family the importance of doing what needs to be done. I think it's disgusting that, first of all, men. So again, I'm sorry, I'm going to be pausing sometimes, and I spoke to UK because I don't want to snap. I don't want to get us demonetized or anything like that. I just think it's ridiculous that in 2023, men have not. They haven't figured out that they need to really step it up, not just in terms of economics, the emotional bandwidth. They need to step it up domestically. They need to step it up as fathers. They need to step it up as husbands. The idea that women are going to be okay with the little they have to offer, slap yourself. That's disgusting. No, we don't want it. And a lot of women are opting to have cats. I would rather have my plant. So no.
Yeah, I just think that if two people are working, and I don't mind, a gender role, like if that's what a person wants to do in their relationship, the man typically does this, the woman typically does that, whatever works for each individual. But I do think that if two people are both working, however many hours a day, that it would be unfair to not be considerate of that. Like, both people are at work, both people are tired after work, both people, live in this house. So I just think, you really have to communicate with your partner to make sure that one person is not starting to resent the other if they maybe feel like they're doing a lot of the work, because I know that that's a situation that can happen. People take on all these household duties plus a job, and now, they're never in the mood, and like now it starts a problem, in their relationship or whatever. So I just think communication is really important around these that topic in particular. Patty, what do you think about the division of labor as it relates to who benefits more from that in a marriage?
I mean, I'll answer your original point. Is marriage beneficial, I guess, for men and women? And I would agree with Themis there when it comes to it being, I guess, more nuanced than one benefits, the other doesn't, or the other way around. I do think when it comes to, like, for example, the outcomes of your children and how well they'll do in life, or the economics of your household and blah, 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 blah. Yes. Everything that you're saying about the division of labor in the household, I agree with. I think hopefully everyone does, since you're referencing data. I think that makes it more costly for women to access those benefits. Um, and I do, to quote that study, um, the men's involvement in the home is, I guess, on a trend to increase, which I see as a good thing. You were talking about gender roles. Someone in the comments, I think, said that doesn't really make sense anymore, and I agree there. Hopefully, men like start doing more around the house with household chores and domestic duties and childcare. I think that would make marriage a lot more beneficial for the woman and for the man too. I think it's good to clean up after yourself and take care of your children.
Annalisa, were you about to say something?
I was just gonna say, and for men too, I'd like, you should take a sense of pride in keeping your home either immaculate or, everything in its place, a place for everything, however you like it. But take pride in your home, take pride in your family, and that requires work. So yeah, for men and women, absolutely.
Yeah, the talking point that I often hear people saying, but I think it might be one of those chronically online things. Like, I don't know if people actually believe.
They do.
I don't know. Are there people that
They
actually
do.
believe that men don't benefit at all from marriage? I don't know if that's how anyone feels in real life.
I
Are
mean,
there?
if you look at, like, you can go ahead.
I mean, the the low marriage rate indicate that there's a lot of people who don't believe that marriage is beneficial. I will note that I see the super chats; they have been saved. At the end of each segment, we'll read the super chats. I just didn't want people to think we're ignoring them. Sorry, go ahead, Petty.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought, but
Oh,
I
sorry.
do think if we look at, I look at, like, media, TV, Hollywood, movies and stuff like that, and there's like a really common trope of marriage being something for the woman, and meanwhile the man is like miserable. Oh my God, I have to go home to my wife. What a drag. She's gonna nag me all day. So I mean, at least in the way that I've seen it represented in media, it seems to be something that men generally don't care for, and women, I guess, aspire after, if media is an indication of how the public feels.
See, that trope is very popular. Like, I'm sure we've all seen it somewhere on TV or in a movie or something like that, or heard it being talked about. But like, when we look at the actual outcomes, whether it be financially or health wise, um, how long someone lives. Like, men who are married are generally live longer than men who are not. Men who are married are generally healthier than men who are not. And, that has to do with a couple of things. Women will make sure you're on top of your appointments and all of these types of things, but also just having that companionship and everything like that. I think last week we were talking about loneliness and like how that can affect people negatively. So, like, even with us knowing for a fact that men who are married live longer than men who are single, why are these tropes still like so popular? Why are people still pushing this whole like it doesn't benefit men, even though it literally does?
I mean, if we go ahead, sorry.
One of y'all come on.
It wouldn't be beneficial. It's the same thing about having a child, and instead of like admitting to the realities of having a child, we sort of romanticize it, and you want to sort of preach to the people who it would. If we're in the domain where we're just gonna take the research at face value, correlation is causation in this world, and women who help men when they're in marriages, and men benefit from marriage. If we're in that world, it makes sense that the person who benefit the least would get the propaganda in the media that they needed, because otherwise maybe women would be running from marriage, right? And so you want to convince the people. If you think fundamentally the nuclear family is a good thing, if you think marriage is also a good thing, and if you want to sort of promote the idea of the nuclear family and marriage in this way, then you're going to tell the men are going to do what the men do, and you're going to convince the women, because you need children, you need women. And I hate to think of women in this way, but like if we're thinking about it, you need women to reproduce. So you are going to have to convince the group that does not benefit a lot from it that they need it. And so it would make sense if that's the paradigm in which we live. But I'm going to echo Patty here and say, I think as I was getting ready for this live, I recognize that marriage is a lot more complicated. And the institution of marriage is a lot more complicated than I originally thought. And the cost, the cost that it comes with, and the analysis done to see who loses and who wins, is a lot more nuanced than I think I would have originally interpreted from the data. Sorry, I went on and on and on.
And Alicia, I know y'all were both about to say something. What were you going to add to that?
So I was just going to ask, I wanted to ask the chat if they could hear me. And I wanted to tell them, we love you guys. Be nice, please. We love you. To that, I want Petty to go. Petty, I'll go last.
I feel like something is going to happen now.
No. Chat, I got a new mic. I hope you guys can hear me. I love you. Be nice. I make faces. No, because listen. Now I'm reading, right? I'm reading comments, whereas before, who cared? But people are like, oh, when people are talking, she makes a face. I'm slow. It's my processing phase. It's not angry. I just slow, and I'm remedial when I'm processing, so my face kind of contorts. But we love you. So go ahead, Petty.
So I was going to say, when you said that it's a type of propaganda for women, that makes sense to me, since, again, it seems to benefit them less than men when it comes to it, generally, even though it's nuanced. My question was going to be, I guess that explains why it's propped up that way for women, but that doesn't explain to me why it's propped up for men to be like negative. If it benefits you, then wouldn't you want to convince the men that if you're for the men, wouldn't you want to convince them to be in the marriage? And also, if you're trying to get the women in the marriage for the sake of, I guess, procreation and all that, wouldn't you want the men, they would be the other half to reproducing? Outside of that, I think for a conspiracy like that, it would require like a well thought out plan, and I don't think
Mm,
people are like
com-
coming with that. Like, oh,
completely
we're going to
disagree.
tell the women that it's bad. I don't
No,
think
no, well, I could disagree on this point because I don't think it's thought out. I think it naturally happens, right? Like you trick your child into eating her veggie or his veggie, whatever. I don't have children, so I don't know what you do with your children. But it just naturally happens if we are to survive as a species and we believe monogamy and marriage through monogamy through marriage is the best way to facilitate our species, then we are going to do things in advancing that, right? And one of those things is tell women that having a child is important, that your biological drive to have a child is just not a biological drive, and that marriage is the way to get there, and you need to secure your future in this way. That there are going to be counter narratives has to happen because you're not telling both people at the same time that marriage is important through the Bible, yeah, through Christianity and other religious society, yeah, we do that. But I think as a general matter, if we're thinking about mainstream and we're targeting a group, then the other group, unfortunately, because of how human minds work, might think they don't benefit from it, right? And we just play into a narrative that men don't want to be married and whatever. But then we see them in their 40s, 50s begging to be married and being alone and finally coming to the realization that they should have settled down. But I mean, I don't think because men aren't being preached to that they don't understand it. It just comes later for them.
Go ahead, Annalisa. Wait, Patty, were you about to respond? I saw you go like this.
I was going to say I don't think that contradicts my belief that it's ignorance, legitimate ignorance. We did watch the angry guy and the blue-haired man argue last week about, for example, the like family court, and even though family court, statistically speaking, benefits men more than the women in the way that I read the data, they were still over there like misreading the data, could barely understand it to put together an argument as he's like just kind of
I
dunking.
mean, you can't use degenerate men to like you. Wait, you can't use certain. This is why this should not feel like a conversation offline because this is ridiculous. I can't believe I just. You cannot use certain people to explain larger phenomena, right?
I don't, I don't,
Um,
I don't believe men are like en masse looking up marriage data to see if it benefits them or not.
No, they're not. And so they don't know. But as a society, we don't have to preach to the men, or so we thought. Now, I think we are moving in that way. Now we're talking about traditionalism and men wanting traditional women because they no longer can get these traditional women because one, they can't afford it, and two, these women are not about to be subservient to these men who can't even read a stat. So I, I take your point, but I also recognize that we would be more effective if we're spending money addressing the group of people who benefit the least and who have a lot more to lose in childbearing and things like that, which is the woman. And then men just think, oh, you're taking my money. Money is the biggest part of who I am as a person. That is all I have to bring to the table. And so they believe they lose a lot more than women, but they don't. Now men can go and get child support. Men can get spousal support. So like, if you marry within your socioeconomic status, you should be fine.
Okay, I will take your point.
So I think that I'm gonna say black men. Okay, I'm gonna have to differentiate. Sorry, but I think that with black men and men generally and overall, I think that there's a dichotomy with respect to the value that's placed on marriage. So I think men generally don't value marriage, but they still understand that as an institution, and they still understand the sort of social capital that is associated with it. So they follow through with it. They generally most races of people or men are getting married. I think where the dichotomy exists for Black men, I think that Black men I don't want to say this. They're not victims. They're not victims. Okay, in a white supremacist society or system, I think when you have a group of men who are rendered utterly useless and powerless by their own metric and measuring stick, because for them, the closer they are to whiteness, the more power they have, the closer they are to patriarchy. For me, and patriarchy is just capital in my mind. So I think for Black men, they are aware of their powerlessness. They're aware of their subjugated position in society, and I think as a way to sort of compensate for this, and there was a study out of Stanford University a while back. I think as a way to compensate for this, they forego marriage in place of a hypersexual sort of lifestyle, right? Kind of more conquest rather than familial building, community building. I think that men associate, how many women you're with, how many women you're able to conquer. They associate those things, hypersexuality, with masculinity, because Lord knows, no one's associating Black men and wealth or community building or anything else. So I think that men have sort of defaulted a little bit to that. Sorry.
No, Kay, can I test this with Annalise here?
Yeah.
And then we can read the super chat. So you said Black men do not value marriage as opposed to other groups of men. So it's your belief that other groups of men value
No.
marriage.
I said I think men generally don't value it, but I think that they, again, it's about keeping up appearances. So they do what they think they need to do. So
I wouldn't disagree with you on that. But then your second statement is Black men are useless by their own definition. I don't agree with this. I think in the way that I've perceived the way that men, and the study coming out of Stanford, I think it was, about being over-sexualized and finding power in sexual conquest, if that's how they determine power, won't they think they're powerful in that sense?
Well, so I mean, the overseer thought he had power on a plantation, and this is a terrible parallel, but it just first thing that came to my mind. Overseer feels or knows that they have power, they can exert power, but in totality, they also know that they are at the mercy of their slave owner.
I can agree that we lack power, while saying the way that we have defined power, myself excluded, because I'll say we lack power, and I'll concede that by my definition of power, we don't have it. But I think by the Black men we are talking about, I don't know if it's most, by their definition of power, they do have power, because they're okay with being fetishized.
But in my mind, I think that Black men are chronically, they live in a perpetual state of playing catch up to white men. So I think that there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. There's denial. I think that there's a lot of mental gymnastics. I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm sure they're patting themselves on the back in some capacity for whatever reason, because they're Black men and they're entitled, and that's what they've been doing. But I think that I still think that they seek the image, the power that comes with being a white man in a white patriarchy, and I think that because they know that that is the true measuring stick. I don't know. It's my belief system that they believe they unless they become white, unless they Michael Jackson and he Bleach or something like that. I think that they know that part of them at least knows they're failing, and that they'll never be able to live up to what white men have created in terms of what qualifies. I don't know if that makes sense. No.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Should Black men try to live up to what white men have done?
No, but again, I'm speaking, and this is a little bit, psychologically confusing, even for me, because I'm speaking from what I believe Black men's perspective is. I think that Black men believe that whiteness is the measuring stick. I think that white men believe that white patriarchy specifically, not establishing a Black patriarchy, because God knows enslavement would, women would be enslaved, period. But I think that Black men see the white patriarchy as the measuring stick. Um, and that's what they're aspiring to. That's what they're seeking. So I don't agree. I don't think that that's what they should be seeking. I don't think that that should be aspirational. I think that they should carve out something that isn't so detrimental, because patriarchy is detrimental to all men and women. So yeah, I'm speaking from the mind of a degenerate Pookie.
I don't think that the degenerate person that you're referencing is representative of most Black men. Like, I just don't think Themis with the T. I just don't think that that is representative of most Black men. Like, are there some Black men who, might have
when you say
But
that
no.
representative,
Before
what do
you
you
go,
mean? What's representative?
because you mentioned degenerate, people whose names start. I don't even like to say that name, because like it's just at this point like a slur for certain. I don't know, but you just call it certain degenerate.
Listen,
So
I
like
love you.
I don't think that most Black men are degenerate.
I love you. And listen, I love everybody in the chat, but I'm sorry. And I said it to Themis. I said, but we had this conversation, and I bet you don't want me to say it. I'm gonna go DC3 on Black men. That's what I said. I watched the Angry Man panel. I'm watching all of these panels where Black women are being absolutely culturally, emotionally, and psychologically eviscerated. I'm done. Yeah, so I'm done. So unfortunately, these remedial men, or these degenerate men, or these I would say that they represent a larger part of the population. I actually do think that they do.
all right.
I do.
So
Somebody
I'm going to say I hope you're wrong, Annalicia. But
Me too.
uh,
No, I hope that I'm wrong too, but I think that all of us can say, if we combine our anecdote, and let's pretend we're Black men, right? Let's be anecdotal Andes for a second. If we combine all of our anecdotal experiences on YouTube alone, I can apply some in real life as well. But if we applied our experiences on YouTube, we can all say we walk away with the same experience after conversing with Black men, and it's the same across the board. At least I know Themis, I've seen it. I've seen it. Petty, I haven't seen it as much. It's happened with me. Okay, you are coming off of what's his name, Anton. So
We're not gonna. I'm not even gonna. Who?
No. I'm just saying that we've all experienced the degeneracy, and maybe the word itself is, I understand optically.
no, the thing is, so I will do broad categories too, but I'm trying to quantify degeneracy, right? Like if we're into stat and we are trying to figure this out, how do we figure out what percentage of Black men would be considered quote unquote degenerate? I also don't like Pookie, because I think the idea of Pookie hides the quote unquote educated layman, the people in a suit that are also degenerate. But I worry that to paint with too broad a brush might include people who should not be included, right? And so I'm trying to, because I know the stats, I know the prison, the gang, the fatherlessness. I know all of this, right? Not all of it, but most of it. And because I know this, I'm inclined to side with you. But then there is a lot that I don't know. Right? The numbers, when you add them up, the people in prison, Black people are less than 1 million, right? The people who drop out of school don't necessarily mean that they are degenerate. The people who engage in absent fatherism doesn't mean, well, it does mean they're degenerate. Like, I'm going to just go out there and say that. But I don't know the numbers and how we would quantify degeneracy to say majority. I would say a critical mass, and a critical mass is enough for me to be concerned, but I don't know how to quantify majority.
So the thing, I don't. There's no way to avoid that. Like for me, there's no way for me to mitigate having this conversation, um, and there being some residual collateral damage, right? Like I can't. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not going to name every single Black man on the planet. So there's no way for me to really to make clear and absolute distinctions, individually speaking. But if we're going to socially and critically analyze what's been happening in the community, in the familial structure and the familial dynamic, and the systemic issues, I think that we can speak broadly. I think that we can speak in general terms, without, I guess, without worrying about, some where it doesn't apply and it should fly, kind of a thing. Because I agree with you and I understand that, but there's
Wait.
no
I
way to
think people
avoid
are
that.
I think people literally think I'm asking like what is majority. I think
That would be me. I would be asking that question if anyone's going to ask.
Yeah, no, I wasn't asking what is majority. I'm trying to figure out how do we define degeneracy in the Black community as being majority in the sense of Black
Like,
men
what are the
being,
metrics that are
yeah,
being?
Well, we look at outcomes. We can look at outcomes, and again, if we're looking to, and to me, quantifying seems like a really rigid way to, I guess, to create a metric, because it's not that kind of conversation, and it's also not that kind of problem. It's so much more nuanced. It's so much more complex.
Yeah, no, I agree with you because it would include the people who stand idly by while degeneracy happens, right? It's the people who may be even justified. But I just, the metric is actually important, right? Because I don't want us to get caught up in the way that the manosphere describes womanhood as a general matter. They're not equivalent. I don't think there's both sides to this kind of argument, but I do worry that not you. I don't worry for you guys, but I worry for me that the way that I participate in conversation might ignore stats, and I don't think a full appreciation of statistic would have me conclude that it's majority, but I would conclude that it's a critical mass.
I'll check my bias again. This is coming off the heels of The Angry Child and the other. I thought that the other one was Indian, the one at the bottom, who was talking like this very nasally and had a whole bunch of like shoes in the back, and I thought he was Indian, but
I don't.
Anyways, it's a problem. Like it's so upsetting, and at this point, my empathy, my compassion, my understanding, and I guess the incentive to even say, hey, maybe let's not paint too broad a brush. No, I'm going to use the broadest brush. I'm just going to cover everything, because, doing anything else would be me giving grace, and I don't have it in me to give anymore. I'm disgusted with what I've seen and heard.
I mean, to be fair though, like before we read the super chat, sorry, Kay, I do have not an apology because I didn't do anything wrong, but I do take your note, Annalisa, from the previous live stream, because I was thinking about sort of there might be men who are lonely out there and blah, blah, blah. And like there was a sympathy in me. It still is there. But after I watched The Angry Man and I watched sort of a white man telling Black men that they should stay and take care of their family and their community, that did bother me. And I will not be preaching any kind of sympathy, anything ever on here, just as a general matter. But yeah,
Want to do the super chats first?
yeah, we
Before
can if you want.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
I was waiting for Petty.
Yeah. City Auntie says, wait, are these in order? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. City Auntie says, love marriages are historically new. People married for survival, resources, improving family status and name in political or military alliances. Thank you.
This
Thank
is
you, City
actually
Auntie.
true.
City Auntie. Men live longer in marriages. The low marriage rates may have to do with men getting wife benefits for free. We are cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, sex without the ring, giving emotional labor, moral support without a ring.
I hope this is
Absolutely.
not happening. Not y'all
Absolutely.
submitting without a well.
Disgusting. It's absolutely
No,
disgusting.
because I'm thinking like I don't want to say what I think about marriage also on the negative side because like it's sometimes waved in people's face as this really meaningful badge of honor, but no one like the people who are in it a lot of the times don't even respect it. Sorry. Yeah, City Auntie, thank you.
I
Go
think
ahead.
that I think we can apply our subjective the way that we feel about marriage subjectively, and I think that could be independent from the objective benefits, because there are objectively are benefits, but subjectively some people it's not that kind of party. Some people don't really care like that. So
Yeah, and the divorce rate in the Black community is higher
then the marriage rate, like what? They're amazing at not being husbands. That's what that statistic tells me. You are amazing at not being a husband. Good for you.
Wait, but y'all don't think you should show like marital qualities before you're married?
Well, what?
What do you mean?
Y'all don't think in her comment she said we're doing all of this before marriage. But I do believe you should do that, regardless of your gender, before you're married. Y'all disagree?
If you guys are both engaging in a relationship and it is reciprocal in this way, then fine. But this idea that like you need to prove yourself as a wife, which I've seen a lot, is ridiculous to me that people are in like this. It's almost like a contest where you are proving yourself and you're doing this and you hope you get picked at the end. It's like, period. What, you know what? Ignore me. I don't give advice, but I would never do some foolishness like that.
Okay. I was just asking because I need to know, are y'all like, I guess the man goes 50-50 until y'all get married and then he starts providing. He's like, babe, once I get the ring, I'm gonna do. Because I feel like that is common where a guy will be like, oh, as soon as we get married, I'll do it. But then they kind of push off.
I think that whole thing, like the whole like do something to get married and then that's not really who you are. So you end up being different after you're married, whether it's a year in or 20 years in. And now there are issues. I think that whole concept is why there are so many issues, so many divorces, all of these things, because like Themis said, like some people are like, okay, I'm going to do all these things so that I'll be chosen or whatever. And then that's not really who they are. But, you know, to your point, Petty, I do think that people should just be who they are. If you're a cook and cleaning person, be a cook and cleaning person. Like, I don't think you should withhold things that are part of your, part of yourself, part of your personality. You should just be very careful and discerning with who you get together with, because some people may take advantage of certain qualities that somebody might have or something like that. But I definitely don't think anyone should be putting on any type of show for anybody, because you can only put on a show for so long. And eventually, like, you know, you're going to attract a person you don't want if you're not being yourself, because they're attracted to somebody that's not you.
I 100% agreed. I think that we should probably maybe talk about or try to figure out where that came from, because, and I mean, I think that we all probably have some really great, accurate answers. But where did the need, that feeling like, oh, I need to be picked, I need to be married, I need to show, do we need to show society, do we need to show our, Black men, Black women, where does that come from? Is it a part of the broader society, the white patriarchy? Where did it come from?
I mean, I think there's historical evidence for wanting to be chosen as the only means for, again, self-actualization through your husband, owning property and all of that. But also with the male to female ratio kind of sex skewed in the Black community, competition is going to be fierce. Because if we have over 2 million more, if we have 2 million more Black women than men, the sex ratio is just the imbalance based on every sociological study should result in this. Now, if you don't want to date out, then yeah, that you're going to be fighting for men in prison. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I feel like historically, at least for Black women, I don't think that marriage represented what it represented to the broader society, or the broader, or the more pervasive society, communities. I don't think that women ever had an opportunity to be solely and exclusively dependent upon Black men through marriage, through their income. So that's why I'm wondering if it's just leaning into white supremacy, if it's leaning into what they. Okay, I can hear it now. I can hear it.
Okay. Another one from City Auntie. City Auntie coming with the hitters today. The wedding day is framed as for the woman, her special day. The actual marriage often seems to benefit the man more. A skewed division of labor.
Which also means if they can skip the wedding day and get the marriage without doing the wedding ceremony, they have done it. And they will do it.
Cynthia G says, how did we get to a culture of degeneracy if most men aren't degenerate?
I think one could argue that the loudest and most powerful were degenerate, and then the other ones were just sheeples who weren't strong enough to fight back. Now, you can call that degenerate also, I wouldn't, but you said one possible way, and that's one possible way.
I mean, I agree with the critical mass argument.
Yeah. I mean, people are getting offed, so that's one too many.
Yeah. April Tate. Not AT, those initials. If the majority weren't degenerate, we would see change. Majority rules.
If majority weren't degenerate, we would see change. Majority rules. This is not the truth always. It can be. So the thing is, I'm not pushing back just as a general matter. I'm saying people. Oh, this came in before I spoke. I don't know why I'm re-explaining something that I explained. I apologize. But if people are stronger, then the more charismatic and the people who are seen as bigger, tougher, stronger tend to monopolize the social atmosphere.
Yeah, like I think most Americans support a federal right to abortion, for example, but that doesn't seem to.
Yeah.
The Raven says, can we have the speaker state how many Black men in their immediate circle, family and friends, are married? Boomer, Gen X, and millennial generations, if it's not too personal.
Okay, I don't know how to separate these generations, but
I don't even know what they mean. Which one am I in? Actually, I'm not telling you how old I am.
I don't know how many I know. There are too many I know, but I'm just going to do it with my friends. Most of my friends are married except for 4.
And they're all Black?
No. But my Black male friends, actually, I have 4 of them that I consider part of my quote-unquote inner circle. 2 of them are married, 2 of them aren't.
My brother is married. My brother was shot 6 times. He is extremely degenerate. I love him, but there's trauma, but he's married. So he's married. I have another brother. I'm from a family of 6 or 7. Brother's married. One of my good friends, Black, from high school, he's married. That's it. No mas. Sorry.
I knew a lot who were married. I think it's a military thing that
Oh
people
yeah.
like marry really quickly.
Sorry, military. What are you in the military in the same sentence?
I'm in the couch guard. I actually guard guard my couch at home here, and I do it very I keep it secure. But yeah, I knew a lot of black men who were married, but lately I know a lot of men who are those same men who are getting divorced. So I mean, I don't know that these marriages count for a lot, because when I say a lot getting divorced, I mean a lot. Um, I know more people getting divorced than I know married, which shouldn't be possible, but here we are.
I mean, if she asked who's married and how's the marriage going, or is it a good marriage, then that's a different conversation. And you know what? I would spill everything. But she only asked who. So
Yeah, I was I'm thinking about inner circles. I'm like, do I have like an inner circle? But I think that if I had to do a percentage, I would say maybe 40% of the black men that I see or know or whatever are married.
wait, hold on. See,
like I'm thinking of like coworkers. I'm thinking of like people that I interact with online and stuff like that. Because when I think of like my inner circle in terms of like my brothers, my dad, my brother-in-law, like stuff like that. I mean, a bunch of them are married. Like one of my brothers is married. My brother-in-law is married. My dad is married. But I wanted to think like outside of, those people. I was just thinking of people I see, at work or online or whatever. I don't know. I guess I would say like 40% maybe.
That's a high. Listen, that is very charitable. 40%.
Charitable.
40. Isn't that how many? That's the percentage that the ugly one on the Fresh and Fit guy, the ugly guy said. 40% of college women on college campuses are getting flown out to Dubai to get wine dined and 69. That's a high number.
Don't be calling these men.
These males.
Males.
I don't know.
Look at the community. I think comment. I don't know. Definitely majority. Sad but true.
Minding my business. Thank you for the $20.
Thank you.
Black men sit in 2 positions. 1, powerful in the most debased masculine way via conquest, and 2, the victim position. They want to play 2 sides, victims of, I can't see that.
Oh, I think victims of white supremacy.
White supremacy, but also I'm a man and men build, but also the white man won't let me build. Well, if that debate is any indication of...
But also I want the white man to build for me too, right? And then I'm going to say that I built it and I contributed and I built this society and I built this community with my black hands. Yeah, no, you didn't though. So you're in the same, like, listen, calm down, Anna. When black men get up there and they mindlessly parrot, this has nothing to do with it. Never mind.
All right, we can.
Cynthia says, cultural dynamics are established by acquiescence, can't read that word, by the major, either passive or active, not the minority.
No, acquiescence is not necessarily done, but it's not generally done bottom up, like just as a general matter. It's usually top down. And so if we are thinking about a pyramid, the people at the top with the most power who set culture aren't necessarily the majority. That being said, it is not, when we compare the Black community to every community, we come out terribly, right? Like we come out just really bad. Literacy rate, imprisonment, just all of it, right? It does not mean a majority of these people, a majority of us engage in this behavior. It means that enough of us do it. So, in comparison to other group, we are worse off. Now, is that a bad thing? Yes. Is that something that indicate that there might be something wrong culturally? Yes. Does that mean the people who don't engage in it does not take fault and liability? No, because if we stand idly by why things are happening, we are to be blamed morally from my perspective. But do I call those people who are passively watching and allowing this to go on degenerate? I don't think I would. Like I don't, because a lot of these people are afraid. A lot of people are afraid to lose their jobs, blah blah blah. That fear, while you want, well, I can drag them for it, and I can get dragged for it. I would not also call it degenerate. Like I just won't. I wouldn't.
I think
But
at the very least we can point to the fact that it is a problem. It
yes,
is whether
yes.
regardless of, it is a problem, and the issue in the Black community. And that's why when people say, oh, but this happens in every community, and there's white women are really the welfare queens. Yes, they are. But the problem with the Black community is and again, because Black men spend so much time and capital investing in the degradation of the culture and the degradation of their image, and as a result of that, when you have a group of people who are or who have historically been subjugated, historically been oppressed, who are not in positions of power in a meaningful way, what ends up happening is when these things do happen, right? So when COVID hits white suburbs and marginalized, criminalized Black communities, we're talking about two different animals. That's the issue in the Black community, right? When you see marriage rates plummeting, it's going to have a larger and more profound effect on the Black community versus other communities. That's the only thing that's it.
Sinji just sent a comment, and we'll get to it. And I agree. The question is, how do we categorize the people who are idly standing by and
Enablers?
not doing anything? They're not good.
Enablers? They're enablers, right? People who are enabling?
Well, people who don't think it's their responsibility.
Yeah, I personally would characterize that as an enabler.
Yeah, and you would be consistent with what you've said on this channel. But the people in the chat who said that a child who was taken care of by their parent do not have a responsibility to take care of their parents, do not also get to say that the Black men who don't believe that they have a responsibility to their community are degenerate. You don't get to say that. You cannot hold those two things. I'm looking at you, Petty. You cannot hold those two things. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can, if you treat children and adults differently, which I do.
No, but if your fundamental point is that you didn't ask to be here and you didn't have asked to be in that family, they didn't ask to be Black either.
Oh, if you're saying my morals are like inconsistent and hypocritical, I will say yes, depending on your age.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant.
Depending on your age, absolutely. I don't treat children and men with
listen, Petty, you folded like a cheap lawn chair. I thought you were going
to. No. Why would I? I do not apply the same moral consistency across children and adults.
No. You are not a child when I say you have a responsibility to take care of your parent. You are a fully grown adult when you have that responsibility.
Okay.
And your argument, no. And your argument was you did not get to choose to be in this world and for them to be your parent. So if ultimately whether you have responsibility is down to choice, then that choice you didn't make to be Black either. So you cannot say you don't have a moral responsibility to take care of your family who took care of you, but you somehow have a moral responsibility to take care of a Black community that is even further removed from your family.
But when we did discuss that, didn't we? We talked about that that kind of inconsistency for those men who are leaving the community and whether they should be required to come back, for example, to a community of men who are killing them.
Yeah,
That's a
and
point I don't think we went
yeah,
either way on.
no. So I'm asking you now: do you think there's a moral responsibility? And note, if you say yes, there is for men to take care of their community, which I say, and Annalisa is saying we are consistent. You are inconsistent if you
I
say
don't
yes.
think I don't think they have a moral obligation. I do think they should feel compelled to.
All right, but they don't have. So you wouldn't judge them harshly or negatively.
I wouldn't judge them morally. No.
All right, all right. So Petty don't think men have a responsibility to take care of the Black community.
No,
Noted.
because I wouldn't
Petty, we
gender it
have
if I
so
did.
little.
You
I
said
wouldn't. I
no.
wouldn't. No, I'm saying no. Because I wouldn't gender it if I did. So that would mean I would have to apply that to women as well.
Yeah. So you don't think they have
No,
men
I
and
also
women have.
don't think women
Okay,
have a
so
moral
by
obligation.
Petty's standard, men and women aren't morally wrong or right for walking away from the
Leaving
community.
a community that doesn't serve them.
Period.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good to know.
The reason, with this whole like degeneracy conversation, the reason I don't like that broad, I guess, brushstroke is because, like Themis was saying, like, first of all, how is this being measured? I think the metrics are really important in terms of something like that. And also, like, for example, if I'm thinking about literacy rates, should I think anyone who's not trying to teach someone to read on a daily basis is now complicit and like they're a degenerate person? Like, I just can't assume that everyone is going to be trying to do the same things. Like, someone might not be on a podcast or online or having arguments with people about not displaying certain behaviors, but in their own life they could be doing what they're supposed to do, taking care of their family, whatever the case may be, but maybe not like fighting that fight with others. So like, I wouldn't consider that person degenerate
No,
just
no, no.
because they're not.
Who said? I didn't say that.
I mean,
I didn't say that. I said
no. I'm not saying that you said that, but just like while we're talking about this and we're thinking about the people who might be quote unquote like standing by, quote unquote, doing nothing, like the doing nothing part, I don't know if I could say that about most people because I don't know necessarily what most people are doing.
Well,
like, if you're just going to work, coming home, paying your bills, taking care of your family, trying to just be a good person, I can't say you're doing nothing just because I don't see you.
Well, so in this scenario, okay, I would infer that it is there are specific and particular situations, right, and instances in which a person is either witness to harm, or they are complicit in some way, or they're silent, which for me is complicit, or just as detrimental. I think I took that to mean in those situations when something is happening and when you're not addressing it, when you're not remedying it, when you're not really pushing forward to try to help or harm reduction in a meaningful way. That's how I took it. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense, because there's no way to quantify who's idly sitting by, who's being an enabler. So I think we have to relegate it to individual and very specific situations in which harm is being inflicted in the Black community, and people are just watching and enabling, or they're complicit.
By the way, I will repeat that Annalisa has been morally consistent. Petty has not. Petty just now agreed that he don't think men have a responsibility to the community. I'm sorry, Themis. I don't see how that comparison makes sense. I've been sitting here for 5 minutes trying to make it make sense in my head, and I just can't. All right. I'll do it one last time. And let me know if this makes sense to you. We had a debate, mainly Petty and I, and the chat, where Petty does not believe that a child who who believed they had a good parent by their definition, that they have a responsibility to take care of the parents who took care of them, right? So I said, why? And his answer was they did not choose to be there. So it is in the choice to be born and be the child of that allows them to say, I don't have that duty, right? I don't have that responsibility, no moral responsibility. If that person does not have a moral responsibility or obligation to take care of their parents because they didn't choose to be there, none of us chose to be Black. I mean, unless we're getting esoteric, and I'm not about to do that. So none of us chose to be the child of, and also none of us chose to be Black. By his definition, the lack of choice means that you also don't owe the community an obligation because they're even more further removed from your parent. I hope that makes sense.
Just
Wait.
say yes, Hetty.
So you do
Agree
feel
with
like
him.
Black people owe all Black people off the basis of being Black owe something to the Black community?
I think you owe something to the Black community, yes.
Okay.
Oh, I thought that this was predicated on what the Black community invested in you, right? What your parents invested in you, and okay, just making sure. Petty, okay? They're pouring into you. That cup has holes in it. It's empty now.
Would you make a separation between the Black community and the Black woman
No,
community?
no. Wait, let me stop. We are not redebating this. I was answering the person in the comment because you've already acquiesced.
Okay.
Betty.
I'm actually, this is morally consistent because I did say during that debate that I don't feel you have a moral obligation. I do think you would feel compelled to, assuming your community is pouring into you in the same way.
Just know that if you ever make a moral judgment on a Black man or woman who decide they don't want to help a community, I will bring this up.
Yeah. I don't think I have.
Change your mind right now. Just do it. It's easy. Look, I changed my mind. I agree with you.
You will not sway my internal moral.
Okay. And I after I told you I like your braids 5 times, just agree.
I feel like you lied.
I really do like it. Come on, just agree.
She likes it. She likes it.
Okay. Let me read Ill Doctrine's comment. Thank you, by the way. I define Black men's degeneracy as the loss and absence of fitness to be a husband or father in the modern world. The degeneracy occurs alongside extremely regressive mating strategies resembling pre-hunter-gatherer cultures.
Not pre-hunter. Not pre-hunter-gatherer. I don't even know what to say to this. Thank you, Ill Doctrine.
Thank you.
The Sanderson sisters Tubmoth. Annalicia, what is your emoji and
sun, moon, and ascendant?
Oh, I'm like, I cannot read that.
What do those mean? I'm a Taurus, so if you're a Taurus, you're the greatest sign on the planet, and that's just and that's the reality of it. So Tauruses, you're the best. Okay.
Yeah, them Tauruses, can't trust them.
Thank you, the Sanderson sisters.
Cynthia, I love you. Please check your DMs, please. I love you. Please check them. And I am simping for you.
Not the Cynthia span. That's why I said by either passive or active participation. The majority could resist if they wanted.
All right, so if you're defining it with passive, then you are correct. I don't define it that way, but yeah, because I think if we wanted to change it, we would. So that.
So we don't want to change it? Is that the consensus?
Well, I don't know if we don't want to, but I don't. When I say we don't want to, I don't. It's political and social activation. It's not enough to activate Black men to want to put the other men in check, and because we don't, in Finji's mind, we are all sort of degenerate. And in my mind, it's not grace. I can see us as weak, but I wouldn't call us degenerate.
I need to be like you. I need to find a way to incorporate that into my process, because I don't have the empathy. I don't have the grace anymore, guys.
Well, I wouldn't expect a Black woman who experienced this much trauma at the hands of Black men and then seeing other men stand by to see it, right? So I can section out the people who are inflicting the harm and think, this is bad. I should do something about it. Why aren't you doing something about it over here? And have a really bad opinion of those who don't do anything about it. They could be accessories in this way, and I would still punish them if we're thinking about a legal system without thinking they're equal to the ones inflicting the harm, right?
Everyone agrees with you, right, Themis?
I hope so. I don't know.
No, yeah, okay, no, we all agree with that. Sorry.
So that's kind of how I was thinking about it.
Y'all are just falling so that I don't read this lovely comment on the screen from Prince that says, "We champion Black love over here," and a Black fist raised. Yeah, that was a
Weird.
You see the very tempered response that comment got. Like, that's how it is in the Black community. That's like literally how Black love. Yeah. Okay.
Sasha E19 says, "But did the community take care of them? The men or the women? I mean, I guess they're both included in the community. So yeah,
I would say, I honestly, I think that some men, I think that Black men are taken care of in a different way in the Black community, and I think that the ways in which they are taken care of, I think that it could lend to the idea that they're taken care of more, almost, I think.
Wait, no, yeah, I wouldn't just like in some ways, Black men are being taken. Everyone else might be whatever, but like in the Black community, Black men are taken care of. Like, period. There's no if I will argue anyone about this. Yes, Black men are not only taken care of, they're prioritized, they're coddled. Like, yes, in the Black community, yes,
coddled." Podcasting is not work, I promise you.
I promise you that's not true.
It is work. Slap yourself and cut it out.
No. I think they were probably talking about the Black men online, but it is work even for them.
City Auntie, thank you. Potential metrics for degeneracy: violence rates, fatherlessness rates, gang-related activity, normalizing anti-intellectualism, and illiteracy.
Yeah. And
okay, we can agree. I love when we agree. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's mostly us, but I don't think that's the predominant. Like, I don't think maybe my bubble is weird because until I came online, this anti-intellectualism thing was not a thing. Like, I promise you, when I heard people in the manosphere say women's education don't matter, like, it felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. Like, I was like, wait, what? Like, I literally did not compute to me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that was a thing. So maybe my perception of how good America is and Black America is, like, it is shaded. But yeah, no, that was something else. Like, that was something else. I do.
Themis and his elitist bubble. Why y'all remove that comment off the
screen?
He said that was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the last one? No.
Yeah, is that the last one?
Nope. We have 3 more. 2 more. 3 more.
Spare Me says, Black women and children being taken out every 4 hours are everyone's responsibility, especially idle Black men standing by. Logic like this is why we're 1,000 steps behind.
Okay. I don't disagree that it's everyone's responsibility. What I call the people who engage in the behavior and those who... So when I say, when you park your car in a bad neighborhood and the person who steal it is supposed to be blamed when we talk about single motherhood, I extend that logic to almost everywhere. The person who caused the harm or did the thing, I am going to hold liable more than the people who were standing by, who facilitated the environment unknowingly, unintentionally. I am not about to agree that person causing harm is and the people who did nothing about the harm are equally liable. Like I'm not doing that. Maybe I've confused people while I was talking, but let me unconfuse you and disabuse everyone of this notion. For me personally, um, I don't see people who do bad things and the people who let it happen as same. I I judge them both morally bad, like I do, but I call one of them is more liable than the other. Like maybe it's not. Maybe they're both degenerate, and I should say they're both degenerate. But I don't know why this person didn't engage, and unless I know why this person doesn't engage, I don't know how to say this person is degenerate. I'm sorry.
Isn't there like a law requiring, for example, if you see somebody in distress or dying, that you have to help
No,
them? Or is the
it's
law
the
that you can?
opposite.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask.
And
There are
just
laws.
generally, like the bystander effect. I mean, because the comment that Spare Me made, I agree that everyone, should work towards safe communities, right? Like that's just something that we should all do. Um, but I agree with Themis, about not holding someone who's standing by as responsible for something that someone else did, because like you were saying, Themis, it really all depends. Like if I see someone bring out a deadly weapon, I'm not jumping into that situation at that moment. Like I might, call the police or something, but like I don't know. There are just so many gray areas. But in general, I definitely agree that we should all be working towards safety in our communities. Like whether that be you're teaching your kids, not to cause harm, or you are not causing any harm yourself, whatever you need to do. But we all need to play a part in that,
Yeah,
having
I
safe
don't.
communities.
So I think I don't want to like diminish the importance um of what is happening in terms of like we have a response. Petty don't think this, but I believe we have a responsibility to help the community, and I'm going to judge you morally wrong for not helping the community. I don't know if I can say you a degenerate for not helping the community. Like I don't know how, and maybe I shouldn't be talking about this loudly until I figure that out, but if you are not helping because you financially can't help, if you physically can't help someone getting attacked, like you're in a wheelchair, right? There are reasons why help and aid is not provided, and I need to know to what extent why you're not providing it. um so it doesn't make sense for me to just make a blanket judgment for everyone. Should black men step up? Yes. Should black men help black women? Yes. Is it our responsibility to make sure that the femicide rate go down? Yes. Are the people who engage in the offing of black women bad and degenerate? Yes. Easy. I don't know how to judge the people who are not doing anything about it yet. I know it's bad. I can classify it as such, but anger and wanting to be on the side of the people who are harmed does not alone allow me to define these people. My moral compass does not work that way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Really, Zahara? Really?
Zahara says Hitler was a Taurus. You know who else I recently learned is a Taurus?
He was a vegetarian too. Just we could have said that. But thank you for the donation.
I didn't know Hitler was a veggie. Joe J says black men can start by encouraging education. I agree.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's the least they could do.
Yeah, the least.
Well,
Here for the panda, the plats, in Petty's position. Yes, we are here for the kids, not the
What
adults.
is Petty? Petty don't even know his position.
told you she likes your plats, though. See?
Critical blackmail on Twitter. Bro, some Chipotle sounds amazing right now.
Probably should have
We're
used
gonna use that $2 towards our Chipotle.
Period.
a
Okay, thank you.
Chipotle fund.
Thank you.
The Raven. Theme is critical mass is exactly the correct term.
Oh, period. People don't like when I use it in debate because then the question is, what is a critical mass? And I said, I get to define it. It could actually mean majority. Which, that's the interesting thing. Like, a lot of people like, why do you mean critical mass? It could mean the majority. It's a way for me to escape having to be tied to a specific number. I can just look generally and say, this is already too much. Like, I don't have to give it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys can adopt that.
I like that.
I feel
I don't
bad
know
for
why I just
Kay.
gave that away.
We've completely. I've railroaded this. Like,
No,
it
you
might
know,
as well
the
be.
super chats. It's flowing. It's flowing. It's fine.
Honey D says, but if the Black community are, quote, bad parents, unquote, then we're not obligated to take care of them, right? You said it was predicated on them being good parents.
Yeah, we did. Famous?
Yep.
Did we?
That was definitely a famous directed question.
That was for you, Themis.
Well,
right?
I didn't see it. Wait. But if the Black community are bad parents, then we're not obligated to take care of them, right? You said it was predicated on them being good parents. Yeah, well, Annalisa might have a different opinion on this, but
Yo, you threw me under the bus. Oh no!
Look, I would never morally judge someone who didn't take care of a terrible parent. Absolutely not.
I think that we'll move on. But no, I agree with this super chat. Thank you for the super chat, and we agree.
Yeah. Jay, thank you, Jay, because people are getting mad in the chat about critical mass. Math. Critical mass means enough to make an impact. Period.
Yeah,
Nothing to add.
That's a perfect description. I think critical mass is much better than like majority. It's enough that it's something that needs to be addressed.
And it could be the majority, but sorry. No, Annalisa, sorry, go. No, it could be the majority, but like when you say critical mass, it allows you to explain why without having to prove that it's over 50% or it's 90%. You know what I mean? Like it is a critical mass. We understand it because it's affecting us all in a negative way. It's impacting the culture. So regardless of what the number actually is, it is a critical mass because of the damage.
Yes.
So now I know how to win some debates, guys.
Period.
That's going to be Annalisia's like new terminology from now on.
That's my new buzzword.
It's the new go-to.
Win these debates.
So many. I'm going to do this. We should stop unsubscribing as soon as we disagree with people, because I don't know who unsubscribe, but what tends to happen is people unsubscribe, then they come back after they've thought about it, resubscribe, and then email me like with a long explanation of like how they come to their realization. So I think we should like sit with things, because me saying a critical mass doesn't actually mean I don't think it's the majority. I don't know. Like that's the ultimate answer.
I'm sorry, people are really like writing dissertations to tell you why they're unsubscribing. And
why they're coming back.
Yeah.
Why they're coming back?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was on some masterpiece stuff they write you.
Oh yeah, that was literally the live. Like a ton of people unsubscribe and then resubscribe, and then they were like, "Oh, I get what you're saying now. We thought you said bad parent," and I'm still confused as to how anyone could think I said bad parent.
Okay.
All right, the super chats are done.
So the super chats, I really like where the conversation went. It kind of bloomed into a lot of different things. So I think it was great to hear everyone's differing opinions about some of those things that we discussed. So, real quick, like this one's going to be really, really fast because it's just something we've all heard a lot, especially online. So, there's this threat about women dying alone, even though we know that women live longer than men. We know that in a marriage, even the woman is probably going to outlive the man. We know that women have stronger social support systems. Like these are things that we know. So why do you think that people um, make this threat that women are going to, die alone if they don't straighten up or do whatever they need to do to attract a certain man or a husband or whatever by a certain age? Why is this a threat that's being made? Personally, I think that um, a lot of men are actually really scared of being alone. So they have to say this to kind of scare women into this position where they're like, oh my goodness, maybe I will. Let me hurry up and, whatever the case may be. That's what I think. I think that's why a lot of people say that because we just know that typically if someone's going to die alone, it's not going to be the woman. So, what do y'all think about that phrase and how often it's used, especially in certain online spaces?
Mm.
Listen, our chat, obviously, they're the smartest chat of all time. They're the Michael Jordans of chats. And I'm just going to say it projection. Okay. They're projecting. It's very simple. It's not very simple, but it is one of their it's one of their tools and the tactics that they use. They've always used it. It's in their bag of tricks, along with manipulation, along with victim blaming or victimizing themselves. They have a whole myriad of tricks that they use to either punch down on Black women, to further subjugate Black women, to get women to see themselves, black women to see themselves in a way that they probably shouldn't. So they have a very astute way of really beating down on Black women's self-esteem, and this is a part of that. This is and what's interesting is when Steven or when Destiny was saying, oh, the conservative white guys, they don't want to talk to the reason that they would the reasoning explanation they would give for not wanting to be with a Black woman is because, oh, she's ratchet, she's ghetto. That came from Black men. That came from Black men. So yeah, it's just tricks are for kids. Just another one.
I think dying is all of our fears. And the reality is we generally die alone as a general matter. So the threat has no meaning outside of a rhetorical device for triggering feeling of some kind of immediacy. I think men have come to the realization, or have been dragged to the realization that they are not needed in terms of a relationship. What they provide to a relationship was not necessary, is no longer necessary. And instead of evolving to match the needs of women, they are they are they are attempting to play at women's insecurities, which kind of is weird because there's a ton of women. For most of the men talking online, y'all are gonna hate me for this. There's a ton of women that would date them. They don't want these women. They want very specific women who do not want them, and they cannot shame these women. So it's a very strange tactic because the people who are going to internalize the message are the people they would already have access to in some ways. And they're going to be able to tell women who hit 35 that I told you so, because every woman is going to hit 35 if you don't pass away before. And every woman is going to have some struggle or life issues that comes with them at 35. So there's always going to be a quote unquote gotcha moment for them in relation to women. And I think it's really sad because ultimately the women who are going to be harmed the most from this are women who, you guys call them pick me's or whatever, but are women who would actually want these men. And I think that's the unfortunate reality. Like, the women who don't care don't care. Like,
Mhm.
And
and
I
they're
think
going to continue to be on OnlyFans and Instagram models, and these same men will continue to pay these women. Like,
there will continue to be a market for, you know, yeah, I think you're right. And I think a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their mind around that some women do not care about certain things. Patty, what do you think about that threat of you're gonna die alone?
As far as why the threat is made, I think we are all in agreement so far that it's a fear tactic. Can we also, in my opinion, can we also agree that there's a type of revenge fantasy mixed in with this somewhere? Because I believe these men genuinely believe that this is true. You pointed out that there's data to counter this, and that it's actually generally men who die alone. But it's this type of, I guess, the girls didn't want me when I was in high school. Once they're 35, they're going to be all used up, hit the wall. You know, the typical sayings. And I think it's like the men legitimately living in like delusion and ignorance, and they really think that this is, I mean, probably because their internet daddy before he passed away tells them that this is the reality for women, and these men legitimately believe that, and they have, again, a type of revenge fantasy in their head that they find satisfaction from. That's the why, in my opinion.
And it's what's interesting is that they do the same thing with mothers. Um, Again, they have a whole myriad, like they have a whole bag of tricks, and Black women lean into it. Black women adhere to it. They subscribe to it. They believe it, and that's the we have to. I hear it again. Oh my God,
no, no,
Petty.
you're fine. No, I want you to continue because, like, this is the part that, like, education is one of the highest one for me that annoys me, but the single mother and shaming of women who have children is the second part that, like, gets under my skin. And it does in like a lot of ways, but this specific way is we're in a society where the birth rate is declining. The systems in place are trying to force women to have children. The reality is, women are needed currently, and the fact that they bring life into this world is something that no man can do. Like, I'm not talking about trans issues right now. So I say that because like I get a ton of emails saying I need to watch my language and use cis and trans, and like it's very difficult to monitor all of that. But in any case, what we should be thanking women for who decide to engage in this and like saying, look, like this is amazing. Now we need to help you, and we need to make sure we show you that we care for you and we care for these children. We turn that into something nasty and disgusting, and people don't even feel comfortable saying they have children. And it's like, we should celebrate this. Like, we know that in terms of our institutions, we know that in terms of our society, we need this. And women who engage in it should be rewarded, in my mind, and should be uplifted. Look, you can be mad at me all you want, but the reverse is happening. And I find that frightening. Like, I actually find that frightening. Like, how are we so anti what is obviously needed? Because if women started saying, you know what, you've shamed me enough, I will stop having children, just out of broad, like out of broad scale, because like if people like get married before you carry, okay, fine, but what happens when the man leaves? Like, no. If women decide, you know what, I could be a single mother, I don't want to be a single mother, I'm just gonna stop. And they stop, guess what also stops? Humankind.
But the that's the hubris in Black men. Hubris will say, "Hey, that's fine. Maria, we have Ling Ling, we have I was going to say that's racist. They're going to say that they have options. That's been black men's racket forever. Not and obviously they fought for their ability to have options, legally speaking, but that's the hubris of black men that you really have to just be disgusted by, because they will say, yeah, we don't want your babies anyway. And I also think that it probably does point to the fact, Themis, that is why so many people in your community, in your chat, were just repelled at the idea of giving back to the black community, or specifically mothers, and because I think that there's trauma there. And I think that it's, first of all, they haven't even begun to unpack it, let alone disassociate from it. But I think that men, I don't think they like where they came from. I don't think they like where they came from. I don't think they like, I'm not going to say anything else.
Okay. So just wanted to get everyone's opinion on that quickly, because that's just something that a lot of people threaten women with. And honestly, the whole, you're going to end up being a cat lady or whatever. Like, I don't even know if this is not even specifically like a thing that black men say. I think that just a lot of men threaten women with, oh, you're going to end up single or with cats or whatever. And more women just don't care.
More and more women are getting cats. Look, I just want to say to black women and men in the chat, your value is not determined or predicated on anyone else. Nobody can tell you how valuable you are. Like it doesn't matter. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care what your body count is. It does not matter. You get to determine your value. You get to determine your worth, and you get to poke your chest out whenever you walk out into the world and present. You get to be who you want to be. The idea that black men think that they can punch down, that they can attribute value or devalue black women or communities or children. No, slap yourself with both hands. You don't validate my parking. How about that? That's what I will say to a black man. Validate my parking. You're not going to invalidate a single mother. You're not going to invalidate black women if they're not married. You're not going to invalidate anybody. My parking is waiting. How about that? They're rude. They're disrespectful. It's disgusting.
Can I put a tie on the dying alone conversation by saying, I don't think, in my anecdotal experience, I don't think that men take care of themselves outside of a relationship, even in like the littlest ways. And even in a relationship, I don't think they do. I think kind of the woman does. Like, do you know how many guys I know who are going back to an empty apartment every day and literally dying day by day? Literally, as a man, in my friend group, at least, you'll just be hanging out with the boys and you'll be like, hey, where's John? I haven't seen John in a while. Oh, John died. What? When? Last week. How? I thought he just had gas. Yeah, it was deadly gas. Like, dudes will literally not go get checked out unless their leg physically falls off or something. So, I mean, if anybody's dying alone, I don't think it's the women. And you did say, Kay, they do have, I think men have worse social networks too.
Just less social supports and like strong friendships. Like we talked about last week. I think it was, what was that, in the Signal report, or I forget what it was we were talking about. But yeah. All right. So, as our last thing to kind of wrap up, I wish I can't play the TikTok that.
Wait, which TikTok?
The one with Pearl talking about why men don't think marriage is worth it, apparently. It's in the Google Doc.
Is it the first one? Oh, got it.
Okay. Because I think what she says, a lot of people in
Oh my
certain
God, not this woman. Oh my God. I definitely didn't want. So do you want us to watch it for real? All right,
just because I think that a lot of people, hold the same belief. that she's about to explain.
People or men?
I don't hold the belief, but some people do.
All right, let me know when to play.
Go ahead.
Women divorce men 70 to 80% of the time. I would argue in relationships, it's probably similar. Men aren't leaving, women are. So to a guy's point of view, he's going to commit to this girl. And what does he get? He doesn't get purity anymore. You know, these hoes. You know, he doesn't get youth anymore. So he doesn't get either of those things. A lot of times she already has a kid. So he's not fulfilling his mating strategy. On top of that, even if he does find a good woman that maybe has the qualities he's looking for, she was going to want him to marry her, right? And what does he get out of that? Oh, she can leave and take half and take my kids. And she's paid to take my kids away from me. She gets more money if she takes my children. Mm-hmm. And so from the men's point of view, they're just kind of like, F it, because like women aren't wives nowadays. And what do they get out of it? But like men are logical. They're logical people. And so they're thinking, does the benefit outweigh the cost? And like, I just think as women, we have to look at ourselves and say,
I'm not going to engage with it.
You know,
I'm not engaged.
That is a very, like, that belief, like what she was just explaining, a lot of people hold those same beliefs. Like, I definitely don't. I don't agree.
I am not engaging with, like, I have you know this, also the time is running out. I have an entire section on divorce and the stats and like all of that. I'm not about to waste that on Pearl. I don't want to be too mean to anyone, but let me just say this. There is absolutely never a point where she has spoken where I felt the need to engage in any meaningful way. She has absolutely nothing of the value that she has ever uttered on social media, and I refuse to engage with this woman. I'm not doing it, so I'm out. I'm out. Let me know when the super chat time is in. Y'all got this.
I mean, come back. So in that clip, she talks about the some of the reasons why some men think that marriage isn't worth it. Again, I don't agree with the things that were being discussed in the clip. I think they're popular internet talking points in certain spaces. And they kind of just, you know, the same talking points from panel to panel or podcaster to podcaster, right? But I don't know. What are some of the arguments against marriage that you all have heard?
I mean,
First of all, oh, sorry.
No, please.
No, Platt's first.
First, I wanted to point out the hypocrisy of someone telling me that you have an obligation to fight against, you know, just the type of misinformation that we just saw tapping out of a conversation. And here I am, not obligated, but compelled to speak on something and combat it, and I will. Yeah, that the purity thing, I'm not sure. I've heard that before, but I'm not, at least from what I've discussed with my therapist, which is like personal and of course not applicable to everyone. I don't think purity matters much when it comes to like stable relationships. So I'm not sure about that argument. I also don't know I don't know if they're taking like the TI approach and they check inside with a flashlight. I have no idea what's going on out here and how men are checking for purity, but whatever. The other thing I've heard is about the 70% divorce rate that she said, which I think is true. Women do file for divorce 70% of the times they initiate. And even that I feel is more nuanced. Like I've heard a lot of situations where a man will literally ruin his marriage but refuse to leave so that the woman has to. I'm not sure why. I haven't looked into that too much. But also the fact that it's the women who are leaving the marriages should tell us that the women are unsatisfied. Clearly, the men are happy in these marriages, or at least happy enough not to leave or file the paperwork. And the women are the ones who are compelled by, I assume, their partner failing in the relationship to go and divorce. So the arguments, I feel like the arguments defeat themselves if you think about them critically. So, I mean, I might be with Themis here. It might not even be worth it to engage outside of, I guess, correcting the info.
Well, make sure you don't leave because then I'll just be here alone. But, you know, it was funny because I was trying to look for just somebody speaking against marriage so that we could like push back against it. And like her clip was like one of the first ones that I found, you know, because she's now becoming or is a very prominent figure in the manosphere.
Manosphere.
In the black man. I mean, I don't know if it's, I don't know which, just in the manosphere. So yeah, that's why that clip was chosen. But I've heard that same talking point a lot. I'm sorry, what? I heard. Okay. I've heard that same talking point a lot, though. Like those talking points about men being afraid that women are going to take, you know, all their things, so therefore, you know, they don't want to get married to not like, so they don't want to risk that. But the thing is, like, that's not even an issue that a lot of people are going to face, because a lot of people don't have
What things? What things?
I'm trying to figure out how to say
What like that's the thing, like she has no depth. And I think there is this idea that like because you have built a social media following that somehow so people need to engage with you, and I don't believe that. So like I don't know how I skipped this on our Google Doc. I literally don't know how I didn't see this on the Google Doc. Maybe because in my mind, her name is Oyster. So like when I saw a Pearl there, I just didn't know who you were talking about.
it didn't register.
Yeah. And there is no depth. There's no analysis of the stats that they're reading, and it's like really frustrating. But if we have like 10 more minutes. FD did a video talking about fatherhood, right? So, first of all, let's address this. Men are afraid to get married because women will take half of what they have. Yeah, no, you don't have anything. So, it is what it is. If you marry at your socioeconomic level, then you don't have to worry about that, right? So the last thing she pointed to was custody, right? Most people are wrong about the custody issue. What is in the best interest of the child, right? And let me just do this quickly on the manosphere, which is annoying. So the manosphere said that the court system is biased against men, where over 50% of judges are men, so men are biased against men. Manosphere people say that men built the system. So if the system is built by you, why is it that it's biased against you? It seems like there is a fault in the way you've built the system, and that's a you problem, not a woman problem. Okay, if we take the stat, which the people tout, we heard Destiny talk about this, where it's like, oh, 90% of the time, not Destiny, the lead attorney, 90% of the time, women are awarded children. That's also not true. 90% of the time, the men give over the custody to the children. And when they go up and escalate in the 2% that sees the court, 60% of that, 60% of the time it's given to the father. We can get into why. We don't fully know. Okay, fine. The question fundamentally is, do men want these children? Because if you say it's money, it's not. You don't have enough money, and if you marry in your socioeconomic bracket, that shouldn't be a problem. Women filing for divorce, maybe you should make your life a bit better, choose better, whatever comes. As it comes to or relate to custody, men don't want their children. And I'm going to play 2 seconds of FB signifier clip, and that's enough for me. So if you would, may I?
We only, you know, we have a few minutes. Let's, you know, wrap
All
it up. There you go.
So one of the things that came out of the video where I was talking about like colorism and gender war stuff as I made a comment about the family court system being in practice anti-male. And I received pushback on that, which I think was correct, to kind of point out that when we start talking about family court stuff and we get into MRA territory, it's easy to fall into bad narratives and bad information because it confirms biases and it obfuscates complexity. And I want to just kind of re-engage with that take a little bit. So one of the biggest things, especially in the Black manosphere, but I think it's in all manosphere spaces, especially when you get to like MGTOW type energy, that an example of like red pill ideology hinges partly on the family court system, how the family court system is anti-male or what is the word you use? Gynarchal. You know what I'm saying? And this is an area of the manosphere that I empathize but disagree with. I want to first point out that I agree that the family court system, in the way it tends to practice, is not only anti-male, but very much, this is an important caveat, is anti-working class and poor male, which also means it's anti-Black male. And the manosphere people will tell you that this is women's fault, that the women have.
First of all, since I'm heated, I'm just going to go off. This is a dumb take. That the court system, the system is anti-male, when it comes to custody, is a ridiculously reductive and dumb take. The analysis being done is what generally is in the best interest of the child. If men live in a society where they feel like women are supposed to be the caretakers, when it comes to which parent the child feels more connected to, which one, if they move the child, it will cause disruption to the child's life, all of that analysis is going to lead to the woman being the best person, even though that's not always the outcome, right? When you go to the court, the truth is the analysis done to figure out what is in the best interest of the child. Manosphere men have articulated that that is beneath manhood. That is feminine, and they don't want no parts of it. So if you claim the things that are needed, the nurturing bit for the child, is something that is feminine, you cannot also argue that you should get the child, unless you're going to say that the court should rethink and redo what is quote unquote in the best interest of the child and give the court your kind of analysis. It is a dumb, it is ridiculous, and it's absolutely reductive. Now, I don't know what just happened. If we are,
Oops, I took it out.
Oh,
I thought it was that you weren't playing anymore. And when you were, your talk, I was like, let's put you full screen.
Oh yeah, no. Let me just play one more part, because in the beginning he just points out that men don't want their children. He is gonna say it, and then he was arguing that we should care about the people who want their children. I agree. Now we need to change the analysis of what it is. Well, of manhood, apparently. We need to have men be more caring and in tune with their children. That's what we need to do, actually. But let him say it, and then we'll get back to it.
Somehow gotten power. The same women that lost their right to abortion also convinced the family court systems to screw men out of fatherhood, right? The same women that can't even get anti-rape laws and anti-sex trafficking laws and all kinds of protections. The same women that can't get like a lot of.
Sorry, I do respect him for pointing this part out, but what he's doing with it is he's creating like the both sides argument. So that,
like, reasonable protections under the law for the last 100 years, also somehow manipulate the court system to screw men out of their rights as fathers, which is bullshit. And the thing that they miss is that this is all a part of the same patriarchal system, and these men that get victimized by the family court system just don't got enough patriarchy. In essence, they don't have enough capital. They don't have enough money. They don't have enough resources to take advantage of the situation properly. But I wanted to engage with that because I'm speaking partly from my own, not personal experiences. You know, me and my wife's doing good. My kids are good. They all in the house. Everybody good. But I know men. I know decent men, decent to not so decent men, who have struggled to maintain access to their children. And while it is obvious to me in these circumstances,
here it is. This is it, and then we stop. Sorry, Kay. Then we get back to you. Sorry.
Is that part of this is because they are dealing with the mothers of their children who are utilizing the court system against them. it's erroneous to blame that on the individual when the system makes it possible and when the system is designed as such. Now, the comments that disagree with me and that take in the video made an important point that I want to start with, which is, for the most part, the vast majority of fathers who are apart from their children, it's because they're not trying, they don't want. They're not trying to help. That is the reason.
Yeah, that is the reason. That is it. Even he can't both sides that. Most of men don't want their children. It is what it is.
So all of that for what?
He's going to go into an analysis about how we should care about the small amount of men who actually do want their children. And it's not women or people who are on the feminist line who should care. It's men. If men wanted the system to change, they would go and change the system. They don't want it to be changed because these men don't want their kids. The men do not want their kids, and they want to war and fight about child support. That is it, not custody. So you're not going to get enough people to create a political movement to have men win over their children. That sounds like a man problem. Y'all over here talking about, oh, it's not women, and because women are weaponizing the system. You didn't create the system. And he said the working class men. Yeah, sure, it is. People who cannot afford to do it. I'm not sure how women are able to afford for a lawyer to win in these cases, but somehow they are. It is such a problem for me to sit there and hear someone say, yeah, majority of men don't want their kids, but let's focus on the small amount of men who do. What are we going to do about it? We can't do anything about it, because if you want the system to change, most people are going to have to come together to go change the system. And if most of these men who need to come together don't want their children or not politically activated, talk to them about how to get politically activated to go figure out how to fight the courts and change the laws. That's that on that. Like, it's really annoying. Sorry. I'm not even mad at FD, whatever. I'm mad at Pearly Things, and he's just getting strings.
Listen, I had to step away. I apologize. I'm going to get back to Burly Things in a second, but I don't, this is what I don't like. You've encapsulated the entire discourse between Black men and Black women, probably in perpetuity, because we have these conversations with Black men, and we just need to agree on what the problems are, right? Like, let's have a starting point. Let's have a baseline. We just need to agree. What are the problems? Who's contributing to these problems, and to what degree, in what proportions? We can't get there with Black men. And this is exactly why, because they say, well, if you're picking these dudes, it's a you problem. It's on you. There's a degree of that is true, but there's a larger degree based on probability that tells me that a lot of them are choosing to be degenerate. There's a lot of them, and not too many to choose from. And the problem that I have with JD specifically is instead of calling a spade, he's looking, it's and I don't like this about the left. I don't like it when they want to put a bow on absolutely everything. And he does it specifically with Black men and Black women. I noticed it's a bias. Check your bias. I don't like that. He wants to do it in equal measure, and statistically, historically, it cannot be critically analyzed in equal measure. With respect to who's at fault in the Black community, with respect to who's contributing what, who's doing what. No, I'm sorry. The math isn't mathing. I don't like that about him. I do not like that about him. I've seen another video, and I literally commented, wow, I disagree with everything that you said. And I was surprised.
The funny thing is, I don't disagree with everything he says. I just can't register any of it because you're addressing the wrong group. Oh, we're not way over. We're 3 minutes over.
Can we stay for a little longer?
We have super chats to read. I enjoyed this convo though until Oyster came up. I was like annoyed.
Listen, the Burly Things. It's so interesting that Black men have exalted this cave woman. She's a K-pop.
No, not doing that with you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't want to get demonetized. Somebody should have told me that the C word. Okay, fine. Black men specifically have exalted this troglodyte. Is that okay?
No.
Black men have exalted this linebacker. Is that better?
No, we're not going to weaponize
Forget it. You know what? I'm not going to say anything. She could crush me. She could fold me. Like she's gargantuan. That's not like I'm not going in on looks, but this is a woman who goes in on looks. And this is the thing about me. If you are going to ride misogyny, I'm going to be misogynistic towards you. That's the way it works. If you buy into the system. I don't buy into it. I never will. You buy into the system. This is the system's analysis of you. First of all, she is a business owner. She has employees. This woman. She is everything. Everything that she preaches, her life is diametrically opposed to. Who are you? What are you doing? Listen, burly things. I know you could crush me in a one-on-one because you're fine.
Kay is not taking conjunction orange.
No, I was. I don't know. I've never seen her content really. I know what she stands for and things like that, but I just don't. I guess I don't know. But on that note,
you're safe. Go ahead. Sorry.
We're gonna wrap it up here. There was a lot more to talk about, but we are 6 minutes past our time. So
how much more was there?
We have 15 super chats, so we have to go.
So we have to go through the super chats. Want to read them, Annalisa?
She claims to be 26. She aged like curdled milk. She's not 26.
Annalisa, yeah.
Somebody got to put her in timeout. Curry Up and Eat says critical mass will be part of a test for my homeschooler. It's a win-win-win. Yes, educate them on that. In the majority too, in the part. City Auntie, definitely projection. Many men fear dying alone, uncared for, with no help, helper, or love. Yep, I agree. Projection and revenge fantasy. City Auntie again, check out NODA. No One Dies Alone Comfort Program. Let me write that down. I've never heard of that. Is that real or is that a joke?
I don't know. I think it's a joke.
Oh, it's okay.
Probably she's trolling, I think.
It's real. Curry Up and Eat. You're going to die alone is their childish wish and hope. Yes, childish. Farm DAs. The revenge theme is the back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot and they all own me. But forgotten the now I'm hot. Yes, I don't know why.
Leave out the now I'm hot part. Never mind.
These men think they turn 35 and then magically turn into George Clooney. I have no idea why. City Auntie says the talk of the wall is fascinating because look up age pill and old cells. Basically, when men hit the wall, a less popular narrative of XY's declining desirability, health, sperm quality, etc. Yeah. All the stuff we talk about in women declining.
Listen, men need to be worried about hitting that pharmacy line to get that Viagra. Okay, because 38, 39, especially with your bad tickers, based on the data, you don't have good tickers, your cholesterol is through the roof, and we know that there are correlations between cholesterol and so cut it out.
I actually have to put you in timeout, Annalisa.
Fine, I'm so sorry.
I read this one. Sejoje. Is that how you pronounce that? Women die alone.
You can say CJ.
CJ. Women die alone anyway because husbands die first. Yep. Oh. Koja Malik. I would like to share a link. Black men say who dies alone. Don't know how to interpret that. Ill Doctrine says.
You didn't even try.
I did try. I tried internally. Ill Doctrine says people have a duty to share surplus resources, education, food, and skills. This duty diminishes across different relationships, so one's parents and children are due more than complete strangers. You don't have to help evil people.
Period.
You agree, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No. Compelled, sure. Obligated, no. Let's see. Stars above the Emerald Forest. Cats aren't responsible for the black femicide rate. They are not.
Yeah.
Curry up and eat. Thank you all for the donations, by the way. These dudes believe they are free thinker or individuals, but the truth is they are group thinkers. They believe a woman is invaluable because another man said so. Yes. Yes. Gia Homed, a friendly dog or cat is greater than treacherous Dusty. It's better than a treacherous Dusty. Yes. A dog, maybe not a cat. CJ says, seek purity while trying to sleep with every woman, creating the problem that they are so mad about. Curry Up and Eat says, Pearly is leading hard. I'm calling on Hafez to get his throne back.
You know what? I need to talk to Hafiz. I don't. I really don't.
Wait,
Minding,
which one is it? Yes or no?
I don't think I do. And I'll think about it.
minding my
He's
business.
fine.
Minding my business says, can we talk about PP bros?
That was on the list.
I
We didn't get to it.
didn't know women knew about that. It's kind of
Look,
a
if you guys are available Friday, we can revisit the Passport Bros because actually this is not the podcast, but like Friday when I go live, if you guys want to come to talk about Passport Bros, let me know. I'll send you the links.
okay. And Ill Doctrine said, quote, you're picking those dudes, unquote. Those dudes. Yes.
I'm living for Annalicia, period, with a C. What has Hafiz been doing? He's been trying to get these people to care about a marriage. After he fostered a terrible environment for years. Let me stop.
I saw him debating the Burley things, and my heart broke because I feel like he did a good job, relatively. There's just something about the way he gesticulates when he talks, and the way that the tonality, it's so bad. It's like, where's the PR when you need it? Where's somebody just to say like, this isn't working. We need a stunt double or something to have these conversations. Like it's bad. Themis, you have to help him. He's trying. I feel bad.
He needs a war room, and I don't think people who have social media understand the importance of creating a war room where you speak and you have people critique you as harshly as they can before you get on live, get into a debate. But I would be willing to help him. He won't want my help because he probably thinks he's that good. But I would be willing to help him because I think his message is good. The fact that he's like promoting marriage, I think, is a good thing. Let me hit the outro and then we can go closing things. So, oh, by the way, I'm going to drop the link for, that's the intro actually, but this is the link for Yanni. Please go over there and drop the hats and the scale. Let her know I sent you. She doesn't even know what those mean, but just like spam her chat until she gets angry. Any final words?
Y'all still didn't ask me how my day was, how my week was. I was waiting the whole live stream.
You want your closing words to be, you telling us how your day was?
I would love that.
Go ahead. Before we get out.
It was boring, not really worth talking about. Thank you for asking, though. As I drop hats on Yanni's chat. It's the hat and scale, right?
I would like to say before we leave, another great conversation, and I will work on the ad hominems, whatever. Okay, I will work on not calling it like I see it. Is that fair?
I mean, the way I think about it, I think it looks much better to respond to.
I'm not the immoral one, okay? My morality is
to
intact.
respond to her argument
Okay.
instead of her looks. I will say it is quite interesting.
There is
her
no
appearance-
argument to respond to.
Her appearance
Is that
versus
too? So if
versus
there's no argument, naturally you look at it and you say,
you would think there's no argument, but there's a whole millions and millions of men over there listening to what they feel like is an argument, and there is something to be countered, in my opinion. So
I agree, Patty.
it
I'm
looks
not
much
into
better.
people's looks at all.
oh, so now you're the moral authority, Mr. I don't give back to my parents.
Look, I do give back to my parents.
My
I just don't have
morality
an obligation.
My morality is intact. I'm gonna do better on the next podcast. No swearing, no cussing, no pejoratives, no ad hominems. Yeah, I'll be politically correct. I'll be as diplomatic as I can. But Kay, you killed this topic. You killed it.
Yes, this was very well done, Kay.
Thank you. All right, guys. Are we sticking around or no? Backstage?
Backstage for 2 seconds. Well, for 2 seconds. Yeah.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching.
Bye. Go
Love
over
you guys.
Yanni and
Thank
let
you.
her know. Go to Yanni.